Hello. Is it me you're looking for?
Hello. Hello, Shimon. So what you will need is your phone.
Yep.
You got that?
Yep.
Okay. Dealing with loss. And do you want to do the intro?
You know I don't ever mind.
I'm going to let you do the intro this time.
All right.
Are we recording already?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I already got the bars
It's
going.
running?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Go for it, big guy.
All right. Hello. Hey, how's it going? Welcome to episode 2 of Be on the Mats, the Jiu-Jitsu / life podcast, where we tell you how we would handle it and try to relate it to Jiu-Jitsu because that's important to us and should be important to you if you're watching this podcast.
100%. Yeah, dealing with loss is today's topic.
Yes, it is.
We're actually coming off of not really dealing with loss in a team sense, because we took the school out to New Breed in Lebanon, Tennessee, and we owned it that
We
day.
did.
As a school, as a team. We got first place overall in points, second place in kids, first place in adult points, which is, I think, a big deal.
It is.
We usually always perform at New Breed for whatever reason. We seem to do well at their tournaments, which I ain't hating on. So
No, I'm not either. And the interesting part about it is we didn't even get to bring all of our competitors. We had at least 2 others that I know of that were signed up that didn't get the opportunity. No, actually 3. Because we had 2 individuals who didn't have a match, so they ended up crediting us back for those. And then Mike, he didn't get to compete because of an injury. So had he been able to compete and those other 2, we'd have racked up even more points. So
yeah, they had to reschedule the event originally because of an ice storm that hit our neck of the woods, and they rescheduled it on Valentine's Day. So that was yesterday. It was Valentine's Day. And of course,
happy Valentine's Day, Jeff.
Hey, happy Valentine's Day, James. Jiu-Jitsu was our Valentine that day. And it was a great experience. Not everybody from our team was able to perform the way they wanted to, but every point that was scored mattered. And everybody's participation worked towards the awards that we won that day. So
we walked away with 2 banners and 2 plaques. That's, for our little school, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, we were the only school representing. Well, that's not true. The Nashville location had a couple students there in the adult divisions, but for the most part, it was just the Lebanon location representing Lebanon and Profectus as a whole.
That's right.
And so very proud of what we were able to do yesterday.
Yeah, and I hope the other affiliates are proud of what we did, because I know we had a lot of competitors that were probably out competing in Memphis and other places. And so to be able to showcase what our little school is capable of, I think it says a lot about what we do and the group of people that we've assembled. So
it hasn't always been that way.
It has not.
Yeah, we've had a lot of growing pains over the years as a school, and winning a team title is definitely a long ways away from where we were coming from. And so dealing with loss, we have this episode segmented for you so that way we can kind of follow along with some sort of direction that makes sense, that you guys can listen to easily, and connecting the dots between losing in jiu-jitsu and the similarities to a loss that you may experience in your life, right? So
yeah, I think whenever I think in terms of dealing with loss, the first part of it is the initial shock, but the initial shock, I think, comes because we have to accept that it's inevitable. You're going to have to lose at something at some point, whether it's early on in whatever it is you're doing or whether it's later or in the middle of the process, you're going to lose. And you just got to kind of accept it. Without acceptance of the fact that there's going to be loss in your life, you're really building in aspects to yourself that'll probably put you in some dark places much longer than you want to be there.
And there's definitely a lot of topics we can segue into while we're doing this particular episode. We're going to try our best to just focus on loss itself. And in jiu-jitsu specifically, they say you either lose or you learn.
Yeah.
And losing is so much a part of our sport. There's nobody that goes undefeated in this sport at all. You know, it's like if you're training in the room on a regular basis, even Gordon Ryan has gone on the record to say, yeah, like I tap in the training room. Chow Terra, same thing. He goes, I probably tap the most in the training room. You know, you learn through your losses. It's when you compete that you start to, there's more weight involved, right? It starts to affect you more because you're investing usually in yourself. And, but it's just a different level of investment versus like, okay, I'm taking risk in the training room. It's not really in front of everybody.
Yeah.
When there's eyes on you, it makes it matter a little bit more.
It
you
does.
remember your losses more.
It does, because in that training room, you've built up trust in those individuals around you, and you start to feel comfortable. And even if you lose in front of them, you know those individuals still care. So it's like, hey, I'm okay to lose in front of you guys because you guys are the ones who are building me up and tearing me down at the same time. But when you go out into a tournament setting, all of the eyes are on you, and you're surrounded at times by people you don't know, and you don't know their intentions, and nobody wants to be made fun of or laughed at. So I think coaching kids for that reason is much tougher, just because they do get very emotional if they don't win, and trying to help them understand, like, hey, it's all right that you lost. Like, it's not the end of the world here. We're just playing a game. We're practicing. We're trying to get better. We want to do well, but at times stage fright is a real thing. So when you lose, you can't, I like to make sure that the kids, or anybody for that matter, doesn't beat themselves up too badly about losing in a match, because it's been my turn plenty of times.
And I think in terms of jiu-jitsu specifically, a lot of people think of it as like it's a win or lose situation, period. Yeah. But in my experience, I look at jiu-jitsu a lot more as performance-based art. It's a martial art, right?
Yeah.
So when you go out there, and even when you lose, if you're executing techniques, you're putting points on the board, you're making an exciting match, it's fun to watch. And in a lot of ways, to me, that's a success in itself. If you're fun to watch, whether you win or lose, becomes less important unless you're trying to be a career athlete, right? Yeah. But even in that regard, if you're getting called up to do promotions, there's plenty of professional jiu-jitsu fighters out there that like don't win anything, but they don't hold back, and they throw it all on the table when they go out there, and that's there's some value to that.
Oh yeah, because I know a lot of times early in my jiu-jitsu journey, I thought to myself, like, okay, I want to win, and I think I have the skill to win at the level that I'm at right now, but at the same time, I want to look good doing it. I don't want to just be on the mats and muscling everything through and pushing and punching and scratching and clawing to win, and then at the end of it, it looks like two cats fighting instead of two well-trained jiu-jitsu practitioners. So that's always been one of my biggest fears, of don't look dumb.
It might still look like two cats fighting.
It does.
To a lot of people with an untrained eye.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like a bunch of chaos. What did Theo Vaughn say? He's like, it looks like each guy is trying to hide something from the other guy, but neither one of them has it, or something like that, which I thought was just hilarious.
Yeah, that's pretty clever. I had to listen to more of that. That's funny.
Yeah, and, just in terms of losing in jiu-jitsu, it's probably the main reason why most people quit, because of the acceptance that loss is inevitable. And the people that are used to winning, especially in any kind of athletic endeavor, guys who are in shape, or maybe were successful in other sports, they come into jiu-jitsu and it's not the same, right? Yeah. It's a level of humility where it's like only experience really can serve you in this sport. I think you could probably count on one hand how many people actually were naturally intuitive as to how to move their body, how to anticipate mistakes that people make. Most of that stuff is learned through experience and through loss. So it's very hard for an athlete who's been successful or, able to like muscle their way through things in life to come to jiu-jitsu and have to accept that losing is a part of it.
Yeah. It's funny. Who is it? One of the guys that trains with us, same thing he said. I'm just naturally good at things that I do, and coming in this room, it's debilitating because I'm used to winning. Like, guys smaller than me should not be able to just manhandle me like this. And so I just struggle with loss. And I was like, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, man. Like, accept the fact that you are not born doing jiu-jitsu, and everything that your body naturally does to defend itself is wrong when it comes to these kind of scenarios. So the sooner you could accept it, the sooner you can move forward and start to learn the art and get better at it, because you don't actually in the room start doing jiu-jitsu until you're dog tired. Like, when you have pushed yourself to the point where strength you don't have anymore is depleted, and now all you have left is the technique, you start to realize how much you do and don't know.
You also find out really quick, like, what is your default mechanism of dealing with loss? Like, do you blame outside circumstances, people, places, whatever, as to why loss occurs in your life? In regards to jiu-jitsu, we see it a lot with parents sometimes. So-and-so didn't do well because they don't get this or they don't get that. And most of the time, the parents that complain, they're either not even bringing them to practice, right?
Yeah.
Or they don't want to acknowledge the fact that, as a kid is evolving, they're going to have hot and cold moments. It's pretty rare to find a child who is just like a straight line upwards in their path in a jiu-jitsu scenario. Like, even adults, but adults tend to have like a little bit better understanding of where they're at typically.
Yeah.
But when it comes to parents of their kids and they watch them out there, it's hard for them.
Oh, it is. Because, I mean, you've got your boys, and anytime they step out in the world to do something on their own, it's like taking your heart out of your chest, still connected, and letting it wander away from you for a little while, or letting it go and jump on the mat and fight somebody. So you're definitely committed to whatever happens to them, and it's a super emotional situation. I mean, I think that's why I feel like it's always been tougher for me to coach kids, because I know exactly what is likely to happen once they step off those mats if they don't win. It's going to be an emotional mess, and depending on how you handle it as a coach, they can look at it and say, well, coach doesn't care, or they can say coach does care, and he doesn't know what to say to help this kid stop crying. Well, then, I mean, it's not something you can do. They've got their mom and dad for those reasons, and they have to work through those emotions. And that's part of dealing with loss, is working through the emotions that come along with it.
And we have to be careful as parents not to coddle too much.
Right.
And especially when it comes to like jiu-jitsu tournaments and things like that, we want to let our kid know that they're loved and they're good. But at the same time, they have to pick themselves up. Mm-hmm. They have to understand that they need to overcome the mental hurdles that life is going to throw at them when we're not here.
Yeah.
And
let them feel that emotional loss.
What a great ground, like jiu-jitsu competition for that to start to take place for them. And it's not to say that you can't console your kid. It's just you have to find a balance, right? We had some students this past weekend that had tough matches, and when the first one doesn't go their way, they've kind of locked in their mind now that it's just going to be that way every match.
Yeah.
And so like there's a disconnect every time they go out there now. So I think it's important to, especially the day of a tournament, and you're going to have more than one match. When that first one's out the way, that should be everything you need to know right there. Like, I'm ready to flip the switch now. Like, I got roughed up. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to play smarter this time. I'm going to get my head wrapped around in the right place, and it takes more than just a coach sometimes. It takes the parents too to kind of like all be on the same page with, the mental aspect of what the child's going through.
Yeah, because I saw kids this weekend that In their first match, didn't seem like losing bothered them. In the second match, clearly bothered them. Lots of tears. Third match, they got it back together. So it's a roller coaster of emotions going in and out of, hey, I'm happy that I'm out here. I'm sad that I'm not performing well, but getting them in that mental space of being able to understand, like, hey, I'm not a bad person because I didn't do good at this thing. You're still a valuable person. So just making sure they get just enough to keep them going, because there were a couple kids that flat out said, I don't want to go back out there again. And after giving them a couple moments to like collect their thoughts and let them know, like, hey, keep in mind, this is just a game. We're out here to do this for fun. You're not going to win $1 million. Nobody's going to kick you out of your house. Everybody's going to still treat you the same no matter how you perform. And watching them build up that courage to go back out just says, like, yeah, even in those moments, dealing with loss is something that you can do in the moment.
Yeah, getting them to like make sure that they still try.
Exactly.
Like, you feel so much better knowing you gave 100% out there, even against a person you know you can't beat.
Right.
Like somebody you're like, there's just no way, this person's too good. I've watched them. I've gone with them. They're like, I'm not going to win. You're going to go out there, and that's going to be the attitude that you present on the mat. That's going to be the result that you planned for already in your head. When you really you never even gave yourself a chance, right? So,
right.
And then there's a lot of mental aspects to training yourself to become something different, right, in your head, like, which, again, we can trail off into the topic of like learning how to win and all of this stuff, but
Yeah.
Sticking with the theme of dealing with loss, how do we correlate that to real life loss, what we learn in jiu-jitsu?
Well, obviously the first thing is obviously you don't know when you're going to lose at something. The idea that I'm going to lose probably is in the back of everybody's mind. Like, at some point you're going to lose something. I'm going to lose a family member. I'm going to lose a match. I'm going to lose this position. I'm going to lose my job maybe. We all know and accept that those things can and will happen at any given time, but you have to kind of focus yourself on what is available at the moment. So stay in touch with the people that you may feel that are most valued in your life, and you've got a high likelihood or a likelihood of losing. Keep those relationships strong. Talk about it with people if you need to. If you have a family member who is not in the best of health or not making the best health choices, you've got options. You can kind of talk to them and see if they're willing to change those habits, or at the same time, if it's just their overall health is at a point where I don't know how much more time I have with this particular person, make efforts to spend more of that time. Have those conversations with that person, because I think that's the scariest part about it. People don't want to talk about the possibility of losing somebody. I don't talk to my parents often about the day that they may pass away, but I do ask them, like, from time to time, like, hey, can you please just make sure that you've got a plan in place? Because when the day does inevitably come, I'm going to be a wreck, and I don't want me, my sisters, and my brother trying to figure this out without y'all. Like, if you just make it easy for us, all we have to do is check the box. I don't want to have to try to navigate this situation while I'm trying to navigate these emotions that I'm going to have to deal with. So start by having conversations with people that are important to you.
Yeah, and this can be a heavy topic for a lot of people who maybe are actually currently dealing with real loss in their life. And for me personally, I've been fortunate enough to not have had to deal with that many instances of loss yet. It's inevitable in all of our lives that there's going to be people we love that move on, and whether it be a death or the end of a relationship. And what's interesting, I was doing a little research on like things to talk about. How do we spin this into a positive light? And a big part of it was like there's almost always a positive spin on loss. Usually there's always a sense of freedom that comes with that. So, like, for example, if it's your parents, and they're in hospice and they're hanging on for a long time. They're suffering.
Yeah.
You're suffering.
Yeah.
You know, it's a hard thing to go through. And when that moment finally happens and that loss occurs, now you can take a deep breath all of a sudden because you know that they're not suffering. The suffering has stopped.
Right. There's certain aspects when dealing with loss here within the last year myself, I had thoughts of, hey, you know what? This is probably the best thing for this person because they wanted life a certain way, and because of their health conditions, it had to be the way it was, and because of the things they wanted. So you can't really say like, hey, I wanted them to hang around a lot longer if they weren't in a position where they felt they were doing the things they wanted to do. So at least in these scenarios, I like to believe that heaven does exist on the other side. And for that person, they're there now and they're living life the way they want to. So I like to envision them doing those things and not being kind of stuck in the way life was here for them.
And in that same turn, you can apply that to the loss of a relationship.
Yes.
Like in some cases, it's what was necessary for each person to blossom in their own lane. You know, it's like two people can sometimes work together and they can stay together forever, and it's great. And then sometimes somebody needs to move on so that they can become the best version of themselves, you know? So in that regard, right, when it comes to losing something, if I'm spinning this back to jiu-jitsu, I have an interesting story about Master Worlds, the first time we went to Vegas with a crew. And we have a guy that trains with us, Dr. Russell Kirk. He runs Tennessee Oral Surgery in Lebanon. And
Shout out to
shout
Russ.
out. And this was Russ's first time as a purple belt really attacking and going for a huge title as a jiu-jitsu competitor, you know. And he dropped a lot of weight. He was doing a lot of things to help himself prepare. I think he cut like 2 or 3 weight classes down. He was light. And
I could tell.
I remember seeing him get changed, and he took his shirt off when he was getting into his gi. The dude looked like Bruce Lee, like no joke. Like the guy was shredded.
And this is how old is Russ roughly? He's
in his 50s. Yeah. So we also knew that his first match was a guy who had, I think, over 150 points for the year so far, competing in different IBJJF Opens. Yeah. And Russ had
goose egg.
0 points. That means that he basically did not. I can't remember if he even had a practice open run before Master Worlds. I want to say he did, but I could be wrong there.
Did he do Nashville?
I want to say he did. But aside from that, he had this guy, and then he had one other guy. It was 3 guys in his division.
Which is freaking awesome.
Gives him great odds to become a champ in his first run, you know, in his division. So I think the third guy, so the first guy, the guy who had 150 points, he was like from Norway, I believe. I could be wrong there, but we're just going to call him a Norwegian. And then and then the third guy was a Japanese guy.
Are we sure?
We're just going to call him a Japanese guy. So, which is kind of crazy because it's Master Worlds, and you literally have 3 guys from different parts of the world coming together in this tournament.
Guaranteed to place.
Yeah.
In a world level competition.
Yeah, all 3 of them guaranteed to place. But, you know, we're rooting for Russ here, right? So Russ goes out there and man, he because he was so big and he studied the guy that he was going to face. The guy threw all the things Russ was expecting. He's tried to pull guard. Russ immediately he's holding him, he's frustrating him. The guy tries to sweep, he ends up turtling. Russ ends up getting top turtle for a little while. He ends up scoring an advantage. I'm pretty sure by the end of the match, he won by an advantage and beat this guy with 150. He was pretty much projected to win that division. Yeah. And so this happens, and I'm I'm, in the coach's chair, and I'm like, oh my God, Russ is gonna win.
Yeah.
Like I was like, holy
Major
smokes, our
upset.
first time at Master Worlds, and Russ is gonna bring home a gold medal.
Yeah.
So we're super excited, and then we're waiting, and all of a sudden his match gets called for the final with the Japanese guy, and I look at this guy, and Russ is, like I said before, Russ is looking sharp. He's looking carved out of wood, like he's ready to go. And the Japanese guy, I look at him, and he's just like very frail looking, like very like looks old,
Yeah, he looks his age.
Yeah. I'm like by appearances, I'm like this guy's, he's gonna get beat. Like Russ is gonna win. Like there ain't no way this dude's beating Russ.
Yeah.
So the match starts, and the guy pulls Russ into deep half, and he ends up holding Russ there. And Russ is doing a good job trying to find ways to clear the leg. They're stagnant there for a long time. And the ref at one point holds up a penalty and gives it to Russ for stalling. Even though I'm like in my head thinking,
it's the guard player's job.
The guard
to work.
player is stalling right now. He is holding on. You could see on his face. He's like holding on.
Shaking.
He's holding on to dear life. And Russ is working hard to try to get out of this.
Yeah.
At a certain point, I just coach him like, just stand up and yank yourself out, man. Like you have a better chance now at just disconnecting. And, the dude was just holding on, man. And sure enough, man, the end of the match happens, and Russ loses the match by an advantage. Almost the exact
penalty.
Or by penalty,
Oh,
almost in the exact same way he won the match before.
Yeah.
So why do I tell you this story based on what we were talking about earlier? Well, we go to the podium, and the Japanese guy that won apparently has been trying to win Master Worlds for the past few years. He has a camera crew with him. So whatever town he's from in Japan, he has a big following, and people are like supporting him, and now he gets to finally celebrate this achievement. And Russ, looked at me, and I remember Russ was like, had such a sense of fulfillment after that like tournament experience.
Yeah.
He was like, he was like, I can't even be mad. He goes, this clearly meant more to this guy.
Yeah.
So when I think about like losing in jiu-jitsu, sometimes it's just not your turn. Sometimes it's somebody else's. Even if you've done everything right, even if you're like, you've got all the confidence in the world, and things are going the way they're supposed to, without getting supernatural, or what have you. Like, I think the universe sometimes chooses others because it's their time. Or because it means more to them. It doesn't mean it takes away that. Doesn't mean that it took away what it meant to you, but it just wasn't your turn.
Yeah, the cards were played out for somebody else.
Yeah,
like different stories have to be told in the universe, and in this particular instance, this is his recovery story, or his not recovery, but I guess his redemption story, because he was able. The Japanese competitor. This was his. What did you say? Eighth, ninth time, possibly.
He tried several times.
Well, so multiple times he had tried to win this first place and finally did it. So, I mean, they make movies about it, and who knows? There could be. It would absolutely be hilarious if there's some like documentary story that this guy has now, and it plays in Japan, and here's Russ as this barbarian American that's just freaking Rocky in reverse, getting beat up by this Japanese guy, and now he's the hero of his story, which I think is great. Like, and good on Russ for being able to keep his ego in check and understand, like, hey, that's something that I need to work on, because that was literally what he did as soon as he came back to the gym. Like, hey, I don't spend a lot of time on top, bottom half. Like, let me sharpen that tool. So I think that's the way you deal with those losses, is saying, where's the opportunity to improve?
And now if we're going back to real life scenarios and you're dealing with loss, sometimes you need the help of a community.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need professional help.
Yeah.
To give you tools, to give you things to work through. Because
And don't think you're too good for it, because everybody needs help. If this was a one-player game, nobody else in this world would exist. Like, you have to lean on the right people. You have to lean on the resources that are available to you. And there's nothing wrong with therapy. I think everybody could benefit from it.
Well, you don't want to be in a position where you're subconsciously dealing more damage to yourself or others, because hurt people tend to hurt others.
Right.
And regardless of whether or not that's your intention, you know.
And the worst thing I think you would want to do is, if you have kids, hurt them with your hurt. Mm-hmm. So let them know, like, hey, this is why I feel the way I do. They may understand it, they may not. They may want to just ask questions. But I think making sure that you don't let your frustrations of loss impact those around you is just as important, because nobody intentionally wants to destroy a relationship that they work to build up, whether it's in a relationship situation or it's in a loss. You don't want to ruin relationships just from an emotional response.
And it's easy too to sometimes wonder why this is happening. Like, why is this happening to me? I'm a good person. I've done all the right things.
Yeah.
Like, and that all goes back to ego.
It does.
Right. Who are you to be the exception of not having, loss in your life?
Yeah. I mean, if there is anybody on this planet who's never dealt with loss before, they're probably new, like fresh out. And I mean, even those individuals still deal with loss, because I lost my pacifier. Like, let's be honest, like, it's all ego based. So I think having that ego driving your decisions, driving your actions, driving what you do and say, like, that definitely just makes dealing with loss more complicated. If you can kind of keep your ego in check, I think that will help you in those situations, because you have to accept the fact, like, yes, I am going to lose things. And the only people who think they're not going to lose things are the people who have an ego in place that says I'm perfect in every way. And that's not true for any of us. No matter how close you think you come, everybody still uses the restroom, and it doesn't smell well when you come out.
Yeah, and thank you, James. That's really good.
That's a very professional way to say that. Like, I could have said it much worse.
That's true. Yeah, I think you have to give time. If you're getting started in jiu-jitsu and you're competing, whether you're doing that or whether you're dealing with loss in some other way in your life, like, it takes time to process that loss. And on the other side of that, how are you using this experience? Are you being of use to others having gone through those things? I like to think that as much as we tend to focus on our own hurt and our own issues, when we kind of put that focus into others and kind of utilize our experience to help fix somebody else's issues or problems, that tends to soften what you're going through, I feel like.
Yeah.
Or just knowing that you're not alone by sharing it with others. And that could be in a focus group, support group. That could be with your close friends. That could be with your family.
Yeah.
Whatever it is you're going through, it is super important that you're not trying to do it alone. I will say that.
Yeah. And I hate to, we say it a lot, but Jiu-Jitsu gives you that, because you'll get into a room with if you get into the room with the right people, you'll find that a lot of the things you're dealing with, they're dealing with the same thing. And you find those commonalities because you all experience loss on the mats. And even the best person in the room, once everybody in the room has that person figured out exactly how to overcome whatever it is they're doing, and they start to lose, well, everybody in the room starts to be able to relate to that person as well, because it's, hey, you're really good at this particular thing. Now that we found a way to defeat that particular thing, you're a part of the club of losers in the room. So we all kind of elevate together because of that commonality of dealing with those tough times.
Yeah, what's the saying? You grow where you go.
Yeah, you're right.
And jiu-jitsu does. It forces evolution.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you take that and you compare it to real life, as you go through stages of loss and grief, you're going to have to evolve.
Yeah, you have to
survive.
Right, you got to accept it. Like, the sooner you can kind of acknowledge that it is my ego that's driving me right now, and my ego, which is making it difficult for me to accept that I'm losing, that's where you start to grow. That's the turning point of dealing with loss, I think. Accepting the fact that my ego is what makes me feel like, hey, I shouldn't have lost this moment, or I should not have lost this person potentially. There's other parts that come along with that as well, but in the everyday aspect of why did I get in trouble at work, or the everyday of why did I lose to this person, he's not good enough to beat me, or she's not good enough to beat me, and I still lost. Once you can overcome that ego and start accepting that, hey, I'm not going to be perfect. I'm not going to be flawless. It's not Mortal Kombat. I'm not getting this flawless victory I'm expecting. I am going to start growing from that point. That's your turning point, I believe.
We've done a pretty good job of not even looking at your phone for segments here. So
I've been checking it.
Have you been checking it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sitting here like, how are we flowing so swell right now?
Like, I'm guiding you. You don't even know it. I'm just doing it so streamlined you don't even recognize it.
Pretty good, bro. So where are we right now in our episode?
Well, right now we're talking about growth often looks like regression. So we've hit a couple of the different topics on here already, but
So just because you've learned from loss, just because you've grown from loss, doesn't mean that you have things that, doesn't mean that you just become better. It means that the ebb and flow of life still exists, and you're going to have lulls, and you're going to have struggles, just like everybody else, There's no straight upward trajectory to like being fixed from dealing with loss.
But to your point, growth looking like rejection, there's a lot of times where, growth looking like regression. Whenever you start getting good at something or things start to go your way, you get to this place where I think at times where you don't want to see yourself doing bad again. So we find ourselves saying like, hey, this is it. This is all I want to do because this works. I'm going to leave it that way. But like many things in life, if you don't grow and change, you're eventually going to die. And so death in times can feel like losing in a match. And if I've got this perfect technique that I've used time and time again, and it always works, and then somebody finally figures it out, and then they explain it to somebody else, and that person explains it to somebody else. Now you're right back in that position of losing, and you have to decide, okay, do I want to keep trying to do the same thing, or I want to grow and try something new? And then when you try that new thing, you start losing again. Well, it doesn't look like you're getting better, but the regression part of it makes you think that, hey, this new technique doesn't work for me. This new idea isn't working for me. It may not be that it's not working for you permanently. It may just be in that very moment that you're trying to understand it and get a base level knowledge of it. And you may spend a short amount of time there just because you have so much already in your toolbox that you can pull to your disposal to try to overcome this situation. But you'll still find your way out of it, because as long as you keep trying and putting forth the effort that it takes to figure out this equation that's in front of you at the time, that's where you'll start to move on to actually gain the benefits of the extra work you've done, or the new technique that you're trying out, or the new role that you're taking on at work and trying to figure out how to make these situations around you better. So like I said, growth does look like regression, because there is that moment, like I said, of trying to figure it out.
Yeah, what I hear a lot in what you're saying is sometimes we have to sacrifice what's comfortable to help us get through those regression feelings. It doesn't mean that you're doing things wrong. It just means that maybe there's something that isn't serving you anymore.
Right.
If it's a game plan, or maybe it's it's some sort of action you're taking. If it's a broken relationship, you know, it's like checking your ex's Instagram. Like that,
Yeah.
that clearly is not going to serve you, you
It's
know,
not.
and getting it past it or growing from that, even if it's been a long time and, you know, but the thing is learning to not beat yourself up over these behaviors or for leaning on things that are comfortable, because it is a very human thing to do. And, but sacrifice is not easy. But on the other side of it is your well-being. You know, you're doing it for a reason.
Yeah. And while you mentioned sacrifice, it is one of the things that you have to be willing to do if you want to grow. Because if I am comfortable with this particular situation that I'm in, whether it be a relationship or I'm comfortable with this particular guard I play in jiu-jitsu, or if I'm comfortable with the job that I have, any of that could be shaken up at any moment when the wrong scenarios play out. Like I said, I lost my job last year because a contract was taken away from us. I was super comfortable there, obviously. I'd been there 18 years. And so what did I do? Control what I could control. And that's one of the points that we have on here is I sharpened my resume. I went out and I started looking for other jobs. I made a plan that says, hey, they're going to pay out an incentive bonus if I stay. So I need to be able to stay at least this amount of time so that I could get this money from them that's owed to me, in addition to finding a new role. So you have to make a plan, make a roadmap, determine what the path forward looks like. It may not work out exactly the way you plan it, but at least having some kind of guide, some kind of map to help you point your direction is necessary. And if you don't know how to put that together, don't keep it to yourself. Like rely on your community, your network. Find those people who are in those places that you want to be. So to my benefit, I have lots of people in the room at our jiu-jitsu studio while I was going through that situation that work at really good places. They were able to connect me with individuals that could help point me in a direction. I got my resume put in front of several people that I may not have in other cases because AI kicks resumes out if it doesn't have keywords in it. So there's a lot of different things you can do to kind of help yourself through those situations. So control what you can and kind of whatever element or whatever faith-based situation you have, rely on it.
Very nice.
Yeah, you know. I did not read that. That's off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm thinking about my own experience of loss, it's from a relationship I lost, and it definitely forces you when you're by yourself and you don't have that person to focus on anymore. You're like left with your own devices. A lot of things are solved by action, you know, and how you approach that isolation and that time, you know. And so like what I did was I just got to work first on just, you know, bad habits, you know, letting go of those. Second was putting pen to paper, like writing down my experience, writing down what I was angry about. The important part and probably the hardest part for most people is writing down my part. Yeah. You know, not just what happened and what I was upset about, but what I could have done differently. Yeah, what I could have fixed or just done differently. But and then counseling with friends, you know.
Good friends.
Mentors. Yeah, good friends, people you trust. And then, you know, just like any stages of grief, you know, trying to find acceptance. And just because you find acceptance and you do the work, like this is where I kind of struggled, was like, I did all this stuff. I did all this work, you know, like, why am I still like coming back to this, like these thoughts? Why am I still coming back to these behaviors? And it's because it's a process and it's not supposed to be easy. You know, you're supposed to, people will notice growth in you long before you recognize it in yourself. Yep. So, you know, just wanted to share that for anybody going through something like that, that it's, just keep trucking, you know, it does get better. And, you know, find yourself a good group of people that, help support you.
Yeah. I think my advice for relationship situations, if you're in any kind of relationship that you are questioning or you really feel like this is the right one and you want to make it work, you have to always check yourself first. For me, I always want to make sure that I'm doing a healthy dose of self-care with just as healthy of a dose of sacrifice. So I want to make sure that I'm giving as much to others as I'm giving to myself, because in order for me to be able to be the best person I can be for my wife and kids, I have to make sure that I'm healthy. And so jiu-jitsu gives me that health injection that I need to be able to stay fit, but at the same time, relieve any mental stress that I may be dealing with. So I get 2 for 1, and actually I get 3 for 1 because my kids are there as well. So I get the opportunity to hang out with my kids and enjoy their company as well. So more the reason why I advertise jiu-jitsu so much to people, because if you do it with the ones you love, you get the benefit of building on even those relationships in a fun way. How often do kids get to wrestle with their dad in a controlled environment like that? So, I mean, it gives a lot, it takes a lot. And now that I have that energy or that release, I'm able to go and interact with my family in a more loving way and more calm and docile, and still be able to enjoy my time with them. So you have to be willing to sacrifice, but also take care of yourself.
Any other main points that you think we should touch on before we start wrapping up the podcast?
The one that I would probably want us to spend a little time on, memories can be both comfortable and triggering, and healing isn't linear. Those are pretty much our 2 biggest ones that we got left. Yeah, I know, right?
Memories, man.
Yeah. Because, man, when you think about how impactful memories are to your emotions, how impactful they are to situations you're going through, whether it be in the mat, in the room, it could be in life with a loved one. Like they say, the sense of smell is most attached to memory. And I know for a fact that I could, like my wife, she'll sometimes take my shirt. If there's a night where I have to work late at work, she'll take my shirt and she'll sleep with it because she can smell me on it. And so anytime you get those triggers, it could be a good thing or a bad thing. My mother-in-law passed last year, and her anniversary is coming up. The anniversary of her passing is coming up in a couple months, and I know my wife will struggle with it, and she should. It's her mom. You've gone your entire life with this person, and now you start to build these memories, and that person isn't in the picture. Well, it's tragic. It's rough. So as her husband, I'm making it a point to, every time I know those milestones are coming up, I'm going to try to go a step further for her, because I know she's going to struggle at those times, and she may not, but I just would rather be on the forward side of it and say, hey, this is a memory she's about to have to create without this special person in her life. So I want to help her through that as quickly as I can. So knowing that these memories will be affected, or she's got memories that she's already won't have, I want to stay on the forward side of it and say, okay, I know it's coming. What can I do to ease that situation? Because I don't want it to be a trigger for her. I want her to be able to enjoy those moments, like Mother's Day as an example. This will be her first without her mom. So I know going into it, I need to work ahead and see what can I do to help make this a better situation for her, because it's not her fault she lost her mom. It's nobody's fault. It's just a fact of life, but it's something that happens. Your situation with your relationship, I know for a fact there'll be certain songs that will come on that will potentially trigger a memory. There could be driving past certain streets that could trigger a memory. So your memory it could be very helpful whenever you need to navigate the world, but it could be very detrimental when you're trying to deal with loss.
Yeah, and sometimes we intentionally listen to those things or think
Yes.
about those memories because, there's a difference between reflection and rumination. And I used to think they were the same thing. And until I realized that I was doing more ruminating than I was reflecting.
Really?
You know, when you're reflecting on something, you're acknowledging it, you're accepting it, and you're moving forward with your thoughts. You're not staying stuck. Rumination, on the other hand, is like kind of like a perpetuating thought or like memories that are occurring in your mind that you're just playing over and over and over again. And you know, it could be something that's set off or triggered by, like you said, like, you know, holidays, songs, or even just seeing something or hearing, like anything could set it off. It's not anything that somebody can fix. It's an inside job, you know? It's like, I think when you truly love somebody, like, that's what makes it the hardest.
Yeah.
If you never actually loved the person, then it wouldn't be as hard as it is, you know? But just because you love somebody doesn't mean that you deserve to keep them. You know what I mean? And so it's one of the things that has really helped is just evaluation, like acknowledging what's going on and acknowledging what's happening, you know? And again, that's not something that it's hard for a person on the outside to like say, this is what you're doing, you know, like, hey, this is what you're doing. Just get the F over it. You know, like you're like, just move on.
If it were that simple, I would.
Yeah. Just move on. It's fine, dude. Like whatever. It's not that easy. You know, I have to work at this. I have to work at it, dude.
Yeah.
And so, and I can tell when I haven't done the work, or I can tell when I'm like, let me just linger in these bad thoughts and feelings for a little. They're not even bad. The problem is
they're not prison.
They're usually, it's a prison, right? And I want to think about all of the reasons, all of the things I miss. I don't want to think about the picture as a whole usually, which means that there was good and bad, you know?
Yeah.
And so we tend to focus on what we want to focus on. It's been nice to call out these things as they happen. And I'm like, okay, this is what's happening. And it's on me to figure out how to work through it.
Yeah. And when thinking about those relationship situations, I mean, it's very easy for someone else to tell you like, hey, just get over it, just move forward. But it's not always that easy, because when you're in a relationship with somebody, you kind of conform each other's life so that it works, so that both of you can be comfortable in that situation. Sometimes somebody sacrifices more than the other, and as a result, they tend to lose themselves or lose the things about themselves that they find interesting or that they want to make an effort to accomplish. So being able to, like I said earlier, sacrifice to give that person what they need, but also knowing when to pull back and do the self-care that you want for yourself. Because if you're in a good relationship, as much as you sacrifice, the other person should be doing the same or more, so that they drive you to do more as well. So a healthy relationship is going to push each other to be better by saying, hey, I'm going to give you 100% of what I have, and you'll do the same for me. And as a result, we'll both elevate. But even along the way, you can't give me good health. I can't give you good health. So,
and it's never always 100% both sides,
exactly.
You know, or maybe it just ebb and flows just like life does. And
because if it's 50-50, it's not enough. Because if I bring my 50 and you bring, or she brings her 50, that still doesn't pay the light bill, because we got to pay 100% of it.
Well, just to connect back to memories for one moment, like one thing too that's true about memories, which I think has been scientifically proven, is that not all the time is our memory correct or accurate.
Yeah.
So like sometimes the narratives that I give to myself aren't always what reality was. Mm-hmm. Maybe whatever narrative I sold to myself was just so that I could help process and move on with my life, you know? So it's like memories are kind of contorted when you're going through trauma and grief, you know? The past is the past. The best thing you can do today is focus on today.
And along with that, making new memories.
Correct.
So
not worrying about the future, but
exactly living in the moment for a little bit, plan for the future, but live in the moment.
Yeah.
Make some good memories. Go see a movie. Go to the park. Read a book that is something you enjoy. Go work out. All of those things that kind of help keep your serotonin levels, dopamine, and all of that good stuff going, so that you can kind of survive those mental battles you're dealing with at the time.
Yeah.
So, healing isn't linear. I mean,
no, it is not. No, it is not.
And when you are dealing with those battles, it's not going to be a struggle. It's not going to be a situation where you could say, okay, I've already dealt with this. I should be good. It goes back to your memories. All it takes is one triggering memory, and you've regressed a little bit back into what you were dealing with. So you have to accept that, hey, this is going to happen, but every time it happens, it shouldn't hurt as bad as it did the first time. It'll gradually get to a point where you can survive. You can move forward. Somebody told me that grief is love with nowhere to go. And you can grieve anything. You can grieve the loss of a loved one. You can grieve the loss of a relationship. You can grieve the loss of a match. I mean, these are all true feelings that we all have access to, and there's nothing wrong with feeling that. But being able to kind of put yourself in a situation where you can move forward and understand, and giving yourself grace to understand, like, I'm not going to be perfectly over this on this specific day. But if I can make today a good day, that's better than yesterday.
I like that, James. I think you're doing a good job.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. I have to motivate myself a lot often.
No, that's good, man. What do you think? I think we've
yeah. So, closing thoughts. What we got?
Well, closing thoughts on my end is losing is a part of life.
Yep.
We're not going to tell you to just deal with it.
No.
Because we've experienced it, and we know that that's not always the case. A lot of times you need to lean on a community. You need to have some self-realization. You know, you have to be able to look at the stuff inside that will help you overcome. Yeah, like and subscribe.
yeah, just like and subscribe. After that, click the bell, all that good stuff.
You know, if you enjoyed this podcast, let me just go ahead and just quickly segue into that.
Yeah, this wasn't a downer at all. No, it's fine.
At the end, we promised we were going to end on a positive note, so
yeah,
we're laughing. I think that
helps. That counts. That counts. No, seriously, if you are in a situation where you're dealing with anything in life, like, find a community that you can connect with, you can bear your soul to, and build yourself back up. Don't lock yourself away, because there's nothing good that comes from being left alone for extended periods of time when you're dealing with major stuff like that. I know there are groups that will help. There are people that are looking to help individuals like that, and their doors are always open. You just have to build up the courage and the strength to step outside of your comfort zone and go find those individuals, because there are people that care about individuals and don't even have to know their name. They just want to help others, and knowing when you need help is important. And a lot of times when we deal with the loss, like, we need help. I've sat in this room many of times after I've lost a tournament and didn't even want to see my own family, until my wife came and drugged me out of this room and said, okay, I gave you 6 hours. You should be fine. Come on here, honey. I love you. Let's go talk. Let's play. Let's have fun, and we'll get through it together. You're still a valued person. We love you. The guys you train with love you. You don't have to feel like you're not good enough because you didn't perform the way you wanted to today. You didn't get what you wanted, so you get to go in your room and pout for 6 hours. That's it. Now you got to come out and interact with the rest of us and dust yourself off and try again.
And you can always check back to our first episode for tips on, like, finding a community that works for you. Starting Over was the name of the episode. And I guess this concludes episode 2 of the Be On The Mats podcast.
Be on the mats.
Be On The Mats Podcast, and you can follow us. Our handle is at Be On The Mats, 4 words. Right?
It's one word. It's all
one word, but it's four words.
4 words. We
took
the spaces out.
Combined into one word. We're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. Guys, feel free to like, comment, and share. What was the name of this episode again? Dealing with Loss. Dealing with Loss. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.